Hello again, friends. Let's try together, shall we, to do 1 John chapter 3, verses 11 to 18. We'll see. My hunch is I'm probably going to have to break this into two videos, but we'll just see. We'll just see. So I went ahead and wrote our first portion, verse 11 on here, or the first portion of 11, anyway. And, oh, actually, it has all of 11. Okay. Hati haute estin he angelia Hein, remember that, Ekusate aparches hina agapomen allelus. Okay, so I put some notes on here already. Actually, I'm going to bring them closer because I don't know that you can see them from that far away. Okay, so hoti, because, okay, haute, do you remember haute? Here, remember? This, see it, the feminine. I think some kids a couple yards down are doing slip and slide. So you're going to hear some noise in the background. Anyway, haute, okay, so that feminine, so she, right? Nominative, okay. Haute, she, literally, she what? She what? Oh, look, here's a feminine nominative as well. Okay, this is what we're referring to. He angelia, the message, right? She is, then this is just Estin is, third person singular, present active indicative of Amy, right? Okay, because she is the message. Hain. Okay, so see, it's a rough breathing mark. It's not a smooth breathing mark. Because of that, it's not, you would be completely forgiven for believing that this is ain, which is the past tense of to be, but it's not. It's hain, which is what do we call that? A relative. I have the exact terminology here. Did I put it up? Oh, I put it up here. A feminine accusative relative pronoun. So in this case, it's like which or that. So which, that. So because she is the message, that or which, y'all heard, imperative or imperfect, active, indicative, so we got the past tense because we got the augment and this, right? And then this ending, right? The second person plural, right? Acusate, because y'all heard, apa, from, and most of the time you see apa, you see that it's just been, see, it's lost its omicron because it's going into a word with a vowel, but it's still almost always with the ablative. And sure enough, this is ablative. It's not genitive here, even though genitive and ablative have the same form. Okay, from, that you heard from the beginning, right? From the beginning. Okay, hina, in order that, remember when we see hina, we talked about this in the other First John passage. Hina, we know there's usually a subjunctive coming, which there is here, agapomen. Hina, agapomen, that, now we're in first person plural, right? Our omen, right? We. Okay, agapomen. We should, because it's subjunctive, like we should love or we might love. I think usually it gets translated as we should love. Allelus, one another. Okay, so let me do a little pause here, and then I'll pop those words on there. Okay, there we go. So literally this is she, but if we're translating it, wait, you know what? This is a good moment actually to have a little chat here about translation in general. Okay, there is not really one precise right way to translate things. There are many wrong ways to translate them. You could have the wrong tense. You could have the wrong, just completely wrong lexical meaning of something, or you could be taking something totally out of context without any understanding of how that word was used historically. So there are lots of wrong ways to translate, but it's not like there's one perfect translation, and that's why we have so many different versions of the Bible, different translations and different interpretations of the Bible, right? So some you'll find are very like literal, like word for word. They try to be as close to word for word, and some, like on the other end of the spectrum, try to be like very much meaning for meaning. But most are somewhere in between, with the panels of people making decisions as they're making choices on this translation, because and thinking about like, okay, well, if I translate it this way, what are the ramifications, like social ramifications, like kind of like the what, so what, and then then what might people do with this? Like there's a responsibility to do that. So when you're looking to do so when I'm on these videos, I'm pretty much just kind of going with literal and really focusing on grammar, but I'm leaving the finessing of it, the smoothing of it to you and to your own way that you want to finesse it and what you're trying to emphasize in your translation. So just be aware, it's not mathematics. It's not mathematics. There's not like one sure total right answer, and I think sometimes we have to look at getting into the trap of worshiping the words more than the giver of the words too. So anyway, all right, that was a long digression. Hopefully it won't take away too much from our video, but just be aware of that as you're translating. So I'm giving like literal things so like what does this literally say, but then you can work with it, and I will try to note that and say when I'm doing something that's different. Okay, so literally this is she, right? This she, it's feminine because she is referring to the message. It has to match in gender. However, you wouldn't say that in English, right? You wouldn't say she is the message because we don't have the same grammatical gender for message. Anyway, because it is the message which y'all heard, or you all heard. I'm just using y'all as shorthand because it takes less space on the board, and we all know what that means, and it's just nice shorthand because we live in a place where we say y'all. All right, anyway, which y'all heard from, and the is not in there. There's not actually a definite article, but when you're taking it into English, there's that like stylistic piece again. You're going to need the beginning because you wouldn't say in English from beginning. But anyway, in order that we should love this subjunctive, right? One another. Okay. Let me get the next board going. Okay, so we just heard that we should love one another, and now we're going to have a contrast to what we should do, right? O kathos kain ektu poneru ein kai iskfaxen ton edelphon autu. Sorry, they're just getting louder and louder with that. Slip and slide, sorry. Okay, but it's not as loud as like the mowers when they come by. Okay, so no, this kathos, that's in chapter 27. It's an adverb, just as. We actually had it in our other 1 John passage as well. Cain, ek, out of, tu, poneru. Okay, so this is, it could be, when we say out of ek, we could be ablative, like out of evil. It could be out of his evil. How we ended up doing it in class is, to see like, well, is it genitive, or is it ablative? I think we went with an ablative sort of thing, but our professor was saying that he believes that since tu poneru is substantive, so the evil, that maybe out of evil may be not just evil, but out of the evil one. He said is a possibility to consider. Okay, and then here we've got ein, but this time it has the smooth breathing mark. So we are back to emi, right? Third person, imperfect indicative, ein, right? There we go. So we're back to that now. He was, and esfaxen. Our professor told us it makes the same sound, esfaxe, of a kosher kill of an animal, of just quick. So third aorist active. So he slayed, or he killed. He slayed. He killed. Tan adelfan, both accusative. The brother. Autu, genitive, his brother. So let me pop that on there in English. All right. So remember, are we supposed to love one another? So if I were going to just kind of casually say this, I would string it together and say, not like Cain, who out of evil, who was out of evil, or who was evil. Let me see. Who out of his evil, I might say, and he killed, or he slayed his brother. But again, you get to kind of string it and finesse it how you want to string it and finesse it. My point here is just to put the English on there. and be able to justify your choices, right? Explain why you made that choice. I think that's a big thing with translation too. Be able to defend it. And this is why we do this in community. This is why in my estimation, the best translations, the most accurate translations, have a wider variety of voices, a wider variety of perspectives that can see the unintended consequences of picking certain choices, be out of their own lived experience. So I think the more diverse your translation panel is, the better your resulting work. Are there men? Are there women? Are they from different places? Are they of different socioeconomic classes? Are they from different ethnicities? Do they have different language backgrounds even? There's a lot of these things that can go into having a really robust translation. All right, I'm really getting on a soapbox. Okay, I'm going to step down. Let me get the next portion. Here we go. Here's our next portion. I put a couple things in there because they're not... Tinas, I'm not sure if it was part of our vocabulary, but I'm sure Harin was not. So I just go ahead and put it on there. Okay, so here we go. The rest of verse 12. Kai Harin, Tinas, Esfaxen, same form as we had before, autan, hatita erga, autu, ponera, ein, tade tu adelfu, autu, dikaya. Okay, so a couple things to pay attention to. This is the same form with he claimed killed. Notice our punctuation right here. Do you see that? That is the Greek question mark. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that in. We've got a question here. And when you've got a question, you get this word tinas. And there's a couple different forms of it. But okay. So, and for the sake of what he killed him, meaning his brother. Hatita erga autu ponera. Okay, because ta, so plural, neuter, nominative. Ta erga, the works, right? Autu, of him, his works. Ponera, so an adjective, evil, we're evil, right? They don't have to go get to be in Greek. They don't have to say were evil, they just say evil, right? Ponera, ein, evil were. Ta, so this is another neuter, this is the same ta, right? Like referring back to what those of, right? Like the works, still the works, right? But remember, it's always post-positive, so you actually say your but first. But those of his brother, like meaning those, the works, okay, of his brother, actually that would be ekanas. So it's just the, but you just know from hearing that we're talking about the works, right? The works of his brother, autu, so we got the genitive, autu, the brother, actually it's all genitive. The works of his brother, and then dikaya. Dikaya, what does dikaya refer to? Well, it's an adverb, also in neuter plural, which is also related to the works. Okay, so let me pop that on there in English. Okay, so, and for the sake of what? In English, we would just say, and why? Or we might say, and for what? For what did he kill him, right? But they don't use the did or do or whatever. But anyway, and for the sake of what he killed him, because his works, I would say, his works were evil. But the works of his brother, righteous. There's no actual to be that says were righteous. In English, we need the helping verb were. We need to be were righteous, but in Greek, you don't need it. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next part. We're going to get into verse 13. Okay, 13 is pretty short, so I figured let's do it that way. Okay. Kai me thaumasete adelphoi e mese humas hakasmas. Okay, so and me, remember me usually it asks for something that's not indicative. In our other passages, it is kind of pulled for the subjunctive. This time it's something that's not indicative, but it's imperative. We haven't really looked closely at it. If you want to look more closely at it, look in chapter 25.2 and you can learn more about the imperative, but this is the imperative. So it's a command, right? Telling someone something, and it's in second person plural. So, and don't y'all be amazed. So don't be amazed, you all. Adelphoi, masculine nominative plural, right? Actually, that's actually vocative in that case. But anyway, no, it's not. It's, I'm not sure. I don't know. But we're too far into this to go back. So take a look, but I know it's masculine nominative. It can be masculine nominative plural. Anyway, don't be amazed, brothers. Mise. So indicative. Remember we had ean with a lot of the other passages, with the other pieces, ean, and always ask for subjunctive. If you see this kind of if, it's going to ask for indicative. So gets used with indicative. So if mise, it hates, third person singular, it hates, or he hates, it, we know he, she, it hates, okay, mise, if it hates, humas, accusative, plural, second person, plural, accusative, you, hakasmas. Oh, and just with the humas, the second person, remember with our, there we go, our humas. So you can see it on there, down at the bottom of the plural pronouns there, second person, plural, it's accusative, humas. Okay, if it hates you, what? Who hates you? What hates you? Hakasmas, the world. So I'm going to put that on there in English. Okay, here we go. And not y'all be amazed, brothers. Literally, it's brothers. But if we were interpreting this and doing it, we didn't want it to be gendered. Originally it was, but we could consider that as one of our translating options, is to say something else, use something that's more inclusive than brothers. Anyway, siblings or beloveds, right? If it hate, literally it's he hates, but if it hates y'all, the world, right? So I would say, and be not amazed, beloveds, if the world hates you. Okay, next part. Okay, here we go. We're going to start with hemes, oidamen, hati, metabebekamen, my favorite word of the whole passage. Ektu thanatu, eistein zoen. Okay, so hemes, well, that's just, right in there, first person plural nominative, we, hemes, right? We oidamen. This was not one of our words, but we learn in this that in the book it kind of has it as we know, but our professor said more like we perceive, like kind of like it's a little deeper than just knowing. Like we perceive kind of makes you think of something that we know, but maybe somebody else doesn't really quite get yet. We perceive, that metabebekamen. So when you see that reduplication of a syllable and the kappa in there, you're in perfect territory, right? So this is something that has happened, that didn't happen before, couldn't have been before, and the effects of it continue to happen, right? Metabebekamen. We got amen, so we know it's first person plural there, right? We have, literally, I think it's we have moved, but our professor also called it we have crossed over. You could say we have moved, we have changed addresses, we have crossed over. Crossed over or moved, I guess is a choice there. Ek, okay, out, right? Out of. So ek tu thanatu, of, ablative, not genitive here. Tu thanatu, out of death. Ace, into, and ace likes to be with accusative, which it is, accusative. Ace into tein zoen, into life. Okay, let me pop that on there in English. Okay, and so just as we've had other times whenever we have like a reduplication of we perceive, like, because it's not grammatically necessary to have that hemes before here, but it's that emphasis, because we were just talking about, well, the world, don't be surprised if the world hates you, don't be amazed, because we, like, there's something different here about this community that's being created with words, as our professor said. Okay, we perceive that we have moved, or we have crossed over out of death into life. Big deal, yeah? Okay, let me get you the next phrase. Okay, here we are. This is the rest of verse 14. Hati agapomen. Oh, sorry. This is so hard backwards. Okay. Hati agapomen, hati agapomen, tus adalfus, ha me agapon, mene en to thanato. Okay, so a couple things here. One thing is idiomatic. Something that's idiomatic, it's something that's just particular to a language, is just a thing that happens and you just have to learn it, but it doesn't necessarily make sense. Apparently, whenever hati is with this kind of an ending, it actually is indicative and not subjunctive, even though it kind of looks subjunctive. So anyway, this becomes because we love. So remember we were just talking about like How do we know that we've crossed, or why? Why did we cross over from death into life, right? Because we love τους αδελφούς, the brothers. It's accusative plural, because we love the brothers, like the other believers, because we love the brothers. And again, it's gendered here. If you weren't going to have it gendered, you have to have a conversation about that, about why you're making that decision, and there are some legitimate reasons why you would want to make that decision for interpretation. But literally, it's the brothers. Hame agapon. Okay, so we have this is a present participle. Look, it's kind of verbish, and then it's nounish, and it has a definite article, so that we know it is substantive. So the loving one. So, but this is me. So the not loving one. So here's what's what happened. The ones that love the brothers, right? They pass over from death into life. They move locations. They cross over. But the not loving one, mene, remains, or also our professor also suggested abides, or remains, and to thanato. Oh, look, we got a subscript iota that is DLI written all over it. Locative. Where does it remain in place? It remains in to thanato, in death. In death. Okay, let me pop it on there in English. Okay, here we go. All right. Because we love the brothers. The not loving one, or the not loving one, remains or abides in death. Okay, I'm going to stop this video here and do a new video for 15 through 18. All right. Hope this is helpful and not confusing, and that you, congratulations if you made it to the end of the video, by the way, and through all my little diatribes and soapbox stands about translation and interpretation. But you know, my undergrad is in linguistics, so I really care about this stuff, linguistics and Spanish. So I care about translation and interpretation, and even more so in the context of looking at the Bible and the social ramifications and how people treat one another based upon what their leaders have told them that is in these wonderful books that we continue to study. All right, be well.